Hey geographers, welcome to AP Human Geography. First of all, we're going to start out with an introduction to geography. What is geography? Well, most people think it's maps, just memorizing a bunch of maps and memorizing a bunch of capitals and place names, but really, that's not geography at all. Or if it is geography, it's a very small part. Geography is the systematic study of the spatial patterns of all the phenomena on or near the Earth's surface. That's a definition that is loaded with a lot of fancy words, but when we break it down, it's not that hard to understand. First of all, let's look at the words that we know for sure. Earth's surface. You know what the Earth's surface is, right? It's what we stand on. Um, what we can see. That's the Earth's surface. Now let's take a look at the other words that may be a little more complicated. Look at the word phenomena. A lot of people think it means phenomenal, awesome, great. Well, actually, phenomena just means something that happened. So if somebody tells you, you're phenomenal, you're something that happened. It makes it a lot less exciting. So phenomena is just something that happened. So it's something that's happening on or near the Earth's surface. So in geography, we look at things that happen on or near the Earth's surface, and we look at the patterns that we see on or near the Earth's surface. We're going to go through some examples of those, but I'm going to give you a quick example today. If you think about where the schools are located that are on Scholar Way, they're really close together. What does that tell you? Well, probably if you have three schools that are really close together, that's telling you that there's a lot of students in the area. So that's just a really quick observation of something that is on or near the Earth's surface and how we can look at those spatial patterns. So spatial, something how it's spaced out, three schools close together, and then you would do a systematic study. So you may back up a little bit and you may look at a larger area and see where all of the schools are located in a larger area, and then you can see how the schools are spaced out. You could look at that in a systematic way. A system is when you're considering more than one piece. Like your body is a system. And why is it a system? Because it has all of these organs that work together that keep you alive, and that is a system. So geography is a little sciencey. Of the social sciences, geography does have a lot of science in it. So if you think about rocks, the topography of the earth, how there's mountains and there's rivers and valleys and how all of these things were created, and they are created by geology and geological things that happen in the earth. So that is geography, but the kind of geography we're going to be looking at is human geography. So we do consider how the earth is made up and how things are put together in the natural world, but we also take a bigger consideration of what humans do to the earth that they have been given. So geography is also the interactions between people and their environment. And in the news right now, you hear a lot about how climate change is changing the Earth's surface and how the oceans are going to get bigger and the land is going to get hotter, and why those things are happening and what effect is it going to have on us in the long run. So that's part of the interaction between people and the environment. But we also take a look at how we build things to accommodate the situations that we live in. For example, we live in Eastvale. It's a really hot area. All our schools have air conditioning. Why do we build them that way? We build them that way so that we can still go to school even when it's August. Geography is also a study of spatial and local variation. So if you go on vacation to different parts of the world, you're going to see things that look different than they do here in Southern California, and you can ask yourself, well, why is that? Sometimes it's because of culture, sometimes it's because of weather, sometimes it's because of location near a particular body of water. All of those things will play into effect, and in geography, we take a look at those different variations. Geography is a study of spatial patterns. For example, if you consider the Earth and you follow the globe, you follow the equator around the globe, you're going to find similar temperature patterns all around the equator. That's just one quick little example of a spatial pattern on our globe in geography that we would study. What is the why of where? That is the central focus question for geography. Throughout the year, we look at why are certain things where they are. For example, we will be studying religion, and we'll be studying why is a particular country dominant in one religion and not another religion, and why do we find it there? And that's just one example of the type of question that we'll be answering in human geography. The next two slides are going to be what of where pictures. So if you look at the two pictures, these are, this is a map of Alaska, and then you're also going to see the aerial view of Alaska showing the same thing. So if you see on the right in the map, you can see a red line that shows a pipeline. And then if you look on the left, you see the aerial view that shows the pipeline on top of the ground. Now think about Eastvale. Do you see a lot of piping just going around the streets in Eastvale or just everywhere? I haven't seen too much of that. But in Alaska, you're going to see that. Why would you see it in Alaska and not see it in Eastvale? I want you to think about Alaska for a minute and what are some of the resources that they have in Alaska. We know they have polar bears and we know they have a lot of snow and ice. But another thing they have is oil, and they have to pipe that oil, or they don't have to, but in the United States we've chosen to help them pipe that oil, pipe that natural resource down into the United States. So we have a pipeline that goes through Alaska, and it's above ground. Well, why is it above ground? What do you think happens in Alaska? It gets really cold, right? And because it gets really cold, it makes more sense to have it above ground rather than underground, because the ground might be frozen or there could be other things that are blocking that pipeline from being in the ground. So that's one way of analyzing the why of where in the two pictures that we see here. This is the last picture we're going to be looking at. This is a night sky picture taken with a satellite, and it tells us some things about the Earth. If we look at and we ask the question, what is the why of where? Why do we see lights brighter in some places than other places? I want you to think about that. Think about why. Take a look at Los Angeles. Can you point it out on the map? Los Angeles is on, let me see if I can get my pen out here. Here's Los Angeles. Right here is Los Angeles. And Los Angeles is very bright. Why is Los Angeles bright? Because there's a lot of people there. You guys know that. Now let's take a look at another place where it's pitch black dark, even though there's a lot of people there. It's right here. This is not water. This spot right there, that's North Korea. So we have South Korea, and then right above it is North Korea. Why do you think North Korea is so dark? Well, if you know a little bit about North Korea, you know that they're pretty closed off from the rest of the world, and they don't have a lot of money to spend on things like lights and electricity. So it's going to be pretty dark at night. What are some other really bright places that you see? Where's Europe? Here's Europe. It's pretty bright. What about the east coast of the United States? Also very bright. And then take a look at Japan over here. Japan's very bright as well. Those are some areas that are really bright. What about the continent, not the country, the continent of Africa? It's a pretty dark continent, isn't it? What do you think that North Korea and Africa have in common? North Korea and Africa. What do you think they could possibly have in common? Now, what about 200 years ago? What do you think this map would look like 200 years ago? Did we have electricity 200 years ago? Do you think you could have seen anything at all at night on the map 200 years ago? I want you to think about that.